Hello, friends. We're here with Coast to Coast Central. I'm your host, Tyler Angers.
Good day, everyone. It's Vin Robinson here with another episode of C2C Central. Today is a very exciting show for us because it's all boiled down to about something like a boiling pot of good food, culture, and that's what we're here talking about today. We're here with Andrew Sookram, the owner of Sookram Breweries. Andrew, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Now, Andrew, we've got something a little bit in common here. We're both first generation Trinidadian.
That's right.
But we're living vicariously through the love of our parents because we are bringing this culture to Winnipeg.
Absolutely.
Right, and growing the brand. So talk to me a little bit about the growth and the passion and why you do what you do.
Well, I mean, it starts with the beer. I just have a passion for making beer and just creating it and sharing it with people. That's like what I love to do. I started as a home brewer and ended up winning some medals and stuff like that. Figured out that not only do I love it, but I'm okay at it. So that was really where the inception started with, but also just kind of bringing, I guess, my unique brand to it, kind of tied to the culture as well too. I think that's why the brewery is called my last name. I'm not really that vain. I didn't want to call it my last name, but I couldn't really think of anything that was better or that would represent my culture more than my last name.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and what, last name creates the brand.
Yeah. Yeah.
The beverage, I'm sure, once we get a chance to step out there and see what it's all about, will resonate with your family name.
Yeah.
Now, you also have a lot of things going on in here, right?
We do.
And talk to me a little bit about the steps of design and thought process. I believe you have some family that is part of this.
Yeah,
with you,
absolutely.
right?
Yeah. So actually, my partner and my wife Kristen, she actually built all these tables and chairs, like everything, like the stools, the benches, the stools that you see there. She painted all the pipe, put it all together, did all the wood. It was a huge assembly line. So we really kind of wanted to go for that kind of home feel, a little bit sharing tables, all that kind of stuff. Right. Not have too many separations within the brewery. But my dad, still a part of it too. He brings our doubles every week and always talking about it whenever he can, the name and everything like that. So I really wanted it to be a family business, and now that Kristen is working full time here for the last couple of years, it's a family business. Right. So it's everything I wanted.
And when I came in here, that's what I felt was love.
Yeah.
So you could. That's why I'm saying you could see it, you could feel it, right? And and that's why I think we needed to start here and talk a little bit about culture.
Yeah.
Right.
For sure.
All right.
Yeah.
Now we have some different things around the building that we're going to take a look at.
Sure.
So, first things first, we're going to pay some dues. We're going to head to this commercial break, and we're going to come back and we're going to check out some of these great brands, and also a key event that's going to be coming up this summer that you don't want to miss. Soca Reggae right around the corner. Andrew?
Soca Reggae Fest 2024. Right. We're the main beer supplier, so very, very happy and proud to do that.
Yeah. So we'll get to that beer right away. We'll be right back. And welcome back from that commercial break. We're back here with Andrew at Sookram's Brewing Company, and we're getting into a little bit of the product that's here. I like to think of this a little bit like the mad scientist, because not everybody knows about this kind of stuff, right? So talk to me a little bit about the chemistry, and we've got so much going on here.
So many going on. Where do you start? So beer, we don't use any preservatives or anything. It's just 4 ingredients: water, barley, hops, and yeast. Those are the 4 ingredients that go into our beer. Every once in a while we add fruit and everything like that, but it's all great ingredients. So it's basically those 4, and that's what beer is all made up of. But within that combination of those 4 products, there's hundreds of different combinations that you can do. Different styles of malt, different water chemistry that you can do, tons of different hops that you can get that give all kinds of different flavor profiles. And so it's just like cooking. It's playing within those 4 ingredients and mixing it up. And you get a stew, baby.
There you go. There you go. Okay. So once you've got the roux, you can do whatever you want to do.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. And once you know the ingredients and know what flavor profile you're after and what your intention is, and then you just try to make it. Try to hit the mark as best as possible.
Okay, so take me a trip around the world here.
Yeah, sure.
What would be some of your influences, your passion?
For sure. So, I mean, this is our probably our highest seller and best seller. This is our IPA, which is like my favorite types of beer. Love IPAs, especially, obviously Desert Island. Little homage to Trini as well, too.
So for our viewers that don't know,
yeah.
IPA
is an India Pale Ale, so usually a little bit higher alcohol content. This one's at 6.5, and there's a lot more hops in it. So that doesn't necessarily mean bitter. It means like we've got tropical, mango, peach, those kind of flavors that you're going to have in here at a little bit higher alcohol percentage of 6.5 to handle those kind of hops that you put in there.
Yeah. Okay, so let's keep it going.
So this is actually a little bit different. This is the first core sour that was actually in the city. So it's a sour beer. So we actually drop the pH. That's another thing with the water. We're dropping the pH of that beer to get that tart kind of refreshing flavor that you get. And this one's dry hopped a little bit. So again, there's some tropical that ties into a lot of the stuff that we do here. We love tropical stuff around here.
Right.
So that tropical, tart, refreshing, kind of easy drinking beer. This is only 4.7%, so a little bit lower in alcohol. But again, it's that refreshing, and there was really a love and a craving for sours when we first started.
Right.
And so when we released this, there wasn't too many in the market, and so it took off like crazy. Yeah, it was great.
Anything traditional Irish?
No, not too much.
Here?
Not too much Irish in terms of that. Again, there's so many different styles you can get. We just released what's called Paparazzi, which is an Italian Pilsner. So it's like a German Pilsner, but it's dry hopped.
Right.
That's what kind of makes it an Italian Pilsner, because that style kind of originated there.
Okay.
Really delicious, crisp, floral, all that kind of stuff.
Right.
One of our most popular events we have is what's called Beastmas. So we have an Imperial Stout called Star Beast. And so every year we hold an event where we release special Star Beast variants, and it's super popular. And this year we released Trinidadian Black Cake.
Oh, wow.
So it's a 10.5% beer. That's why it's in a shorter can.
Right.
Very rich, dark, boozy, chocolatey, caramel. Yum.
Now, speaking, so we're on the Caribbean tip here, the Caribbean vibe. So
yeah.
Let's focus on these two here.
Nice.
So now we've got an event coming up.
Absolutely.
The end of
Reggae
June.
Fest.
The end of June, right?
June 28th and 29th.
That's right. And you're the sponsor for
the beer. Absolutely. We're
Okay.
super proud and happy to do that.
Now, talk to me about reggae
Stout. Absolutely.
Talk to me
So
about that.
this was a tropical stout. So traditionally in the Caribbean, kind of every island has their like lager beer. You've got Carib, Stag, what I know. Other islands all have their own kind of brand of yellow, fizzy lager that they have. But they also have kind of bigger, boozy, dark beers. Jamaican Dragon Stout, for example.
Right.
So I kind of want to capture that and make that here, which was using lager yeast, which you don't typically do in a stout. You'll use an ale yeast and a lot of dark malts, but as well as some cane sugar, which is a locally found product there that can really get us that sweet flavor in the stout. So it's a little higher alcohol at 7%, but it's sweeter. It's good for cold weather, good for hot weather.
Right.
You wouldn't normally think that with a stout, but with this one, we definitely wanted to showcase the differences in the brewing. And I really tried to go traditional here as much as I could.
I like the colors of the can.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter if you want to go left or go right.
Yeah.
You're going right.
Yeah. So this is Reggae Stout.
Right.
Love that we landed on these names too. It's it's the music, it's the festival, and it's the culture,
Right.
and it's within these two cans. You know, soca, as you know, you know, originating from Trinidad. You know, reggae coming from Africa via Jamaica. Just like that's what is known in those places. So when Soca Reggae Fest came around, it was really like, what can we do to showcase the music, but also showcase the beers?
Product.
And so, you know, a lager and a stout, and after the two most popular brands of music that have come out of the islands.
Right. Now, for that education process for our viewers, I mean, you probably have to come down and sample and taste different things and what have you. Perhaps there's a sample night or something like that.
Well, actually, we always offer, so we have around 16 taps. We usually have them full, but we also have flights. So you can come down and get a 5-ounce taster or sampler for all of these, and really see what you like. We pride ourselves on having a lot of different kind of beer. So there's something for everybody. Sour, fruited stuff, stouts, IPAs. We have a low alcohol version, Gravity Warp, 3.5% pale ale. There's non-alcoholic options here as well too. So yeah, really it's just come down, sample, see what you love, and then maybe take some cans to go.
Okay. So we're gonna cut to a commercial break, and when we come back, maybe we could see the method behind the madness.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
And see what that actually makes this place tick. So we'll be right back. Now, welcome back. We're here at the back of the house now, which is very exciting. You don't get to see this every day, so thank you very much to Sookram Brewery for giving us this opportunity. What's going to happen here is we're going to get a chance to find out exactly, like I said, the method behind the madness, the mad chemist here. Tell us a little bit about this. What makes the machine run? How does it go?
This is my favorite part, you know, like brewing the beer. This is what we got. So these are kind of the heart of our brewery. This is what's called a mash tun, and that's what's called a boil kettle.
Wow,
so
take a look in there.
Yeah. Basically how it starts is, like I said, it's grain, water, hops, and yeast. So we start with soaking some cracked grain. So we crack all of our grain in that other room, and it comes in that pipe there, and we mix it with hot water, and it kind of steeps like a tea.
So would this be like a big blender, essentially?
Absolutely, like more of a mixer than a blender, but yeah. And the water and the hops, what that does is it extracts all the sugars and transforms them into fermentable sugars, basically. So what we do, and the reason why they're kind of slit at the bottom there, is because we extract that liquid, which is called wort. So we extract that liquid and we leave the grains behind. So what the grains give us is our sugars and our color. And then what we do is we go to the next stage of the process here, which is, this is our boil kettle.
Oh, so see that, once again, education, right?
Yeah.
Because when I look at that, I'm assuming that you're boiling or making, 10 different types of beer right now.
No.
But this is a process.
It's one. Yeah, it's one. So it's a process.
Unbelievable.
It takes all day to make a batch,
Okay.
and then it takes about 3 weeks to have it from grain to glass, pretty much, to finish it off.
This is exciting.
So this is why it's hard to that's why we got to plan so far in advance and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, and here is where we boil it up. So we boil to concentrate the sugars as well as kind of passivate it, make it safe for human consumption. That's why beer's been around for so long. It was safe to drink back in the day. This is also where we add our hops.
Right.
So hops are made for flavoring and bitterness. That's what you're going to kind of extract from them. So by adding them early on in the boil, most boils take about 60 minutes. By adding them earlier, you're going to extract a lot of bitterness. By doing it late, you're going to extract a lot of flavor and aroma, which is what we love doing. Yeah. And so we're just going to move on here. At the end of after it's done boiling, actually, Whirlpool it with some pumps down here.
Yeah.
But we put it through this guy, which is our heat exchanger.
Okay.
So what we do is it goes in boiling, but it comes out here at about 10 degrees to 20 degrees Celsius, depending on what time of year it is. And we just use city water to extract that heat. It's a heat exchanger. So it's going, the hot wort is going through all these tightly packed plates that are surrounded by cold water. That cold water goes back. It's now heated because it's taken all that heat from the wort
Right.
It goes into our boil kettle, and then we use that water for next batches.
Okay.
So we're not wasting it. And so once it's cooled off, you can also see that there's an oxygen tank here. The reason that we put oxygen in it is because yeast need an oxygenated environment in order to survive and do their thing, which is turning sugar into alcohol.
Wow.
Yeah. So yeah, we're cooling it down. We'll move it over to one of our fermenters here.
Okay.
So any kind of beer can be in here. So basically, these are our fermenters, and in here, the beer will get cooled down. We'll fill it up. It'll be oxygenated. And what we'll do is then we'll dump yeast in there. And the reason we put the yeast in there is because the yeast will actually eat and multiply and eat those sugars and turn them into alcohol. And so it sits in here for about 2 weeks, 2-3 weeks sometimes, depending on what type of beer we're making. Lagers take a little bit longer because we've got to clarify them. Something like this. This is a special one, actually. This is our Desert Island 100th batch that we're brewing. So this is our 100th batch of Desert Island that we brewed today.
Oh,
So
congratulations.
yeah, thank you.
A century mark.
It
We're
is
actually.
it is a very cool thing. We're going to have a big event surrounding it.
Love it. Call us back. Call us back. We're
Sounds
definitely
good.
coming back to
Good.
support. Yeah.
So yeah, once it's done, basically, and the reason we have this tube here, and it's in sanitizer, is that when it's active fermentation, you'll actually see it bubbling, just like over there. So what's happening is the yeast are eating up all those sugars and creating alcohol, but as a byproduct, it creates CO2.
Okay.
So we don't want to diffuse it in the air. We want to make sure that it's being diffused in
in
the
the
sanitizer.
water, yeah.
But that's how you can tell it's nice and active and it's going.
Right.
That yeast is eating that sugar. If you could see it, it'd be moving all like this and going crazy.
So now we're through a pretty deep process at this point.
Yeah,
From being
absolutely.
down there. So the question is, how do you know that the beer is not spoiled
Yeah. So,
before you get to the end and you've taken all this time through the process?
absolutely. So number one is cleanliness.
Okay.
So anything the beer touches after it's gone through that heat exchanger has to be clean. The hoses that we do are passivated, like they're hot water, very, very hot water, and cleaner and sanitizer is put through before the beer touches it.
Right.
The tank, we strip the tank, we clean every little piece, we clean these tanks, then we sanitize it, we run sanitizer through it before the beer even hits it. So we have to make sure, because after it's done on that hot side, this is what we call the cold side, is that everything that the beer touches has to be perfectly clean.
Right.
So we don't want to open up the tanks as much as possible at all, like we do to add hops later on in the process, what's called dry hopping. But for the most part, the beer stays in there and it's good. And you just have to make sure that your practices are sound. You've got good ingredients, you're boiling long enough, you've got healthy yeast cells, and you're not, everything that touches it, you've got to make sure that it's just cleanliness.
Protocol.
80% of brewing is cleaning.
Okay. So we're still moving along?
Yeah, moving along. So after it's done, the reason these are coned is because these are all temperature controlled as well too. Temperature is hugely important in a brewery. All those white tubes are filled with what's called glycol. So it's like a liquid refrigerant that's a food grade refrigerant. And you can tell right now, it's very, very cold.
Cold,
very
yeah.
cold.
See it sweating.
Yeah, so the thing with yeast is too hot an environment, they'll create off flavors and weirdness in the beer and create gross tasting beer. Too cold and they'll go to sleep. So that's why we have to temperature control it to make sure that it's at that nice temperature that the yeast are very happy.
Right.
We're just making sure that they're happy so that they're making us beer.
Right, okay.
And then when it gets to this stage of the process, this is our finishing tanks.
So question on
Yeah.
that. Would you, let's say you buy the beer, it sits in your vehicle, you're going camping, sits in your vehicle for not even half a day, because the temperature at plus 30 could cook that thing.
It could cook that thing, yeah.
Would you not recommend throwing it in your fridge and letting it cool
All
down
the
and
way.
drinking again?
Yeah, I mean,
Or does it change the...
it'll definitely change from what that is. Like, beer should be kept cold
All the time.
at all times.
Okay.
That's how you're going to get the freshness from it. That's how, we don't have preservatives, so there is a little bit of a countdown that starts once
Okay.
that's put in the can.
Right.
Because we pride ourselves in freshness. I think that's why I opened a little bit of a smaller brewery, because
Right.
I didn't want to worry about stale beer being on the shelves,
Right.
because we have to put our best foot forward.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah. So these are our finishing tanks. This is actually where we finish the beer off and then carbonate it.
Is that why it's happy?
Yeah, that's why it's
Okay,
happening.
alright,
Yeah. It is happening.
Alright.
It's all done. We've tasted it along the process. So this is attached to a carbonation stone. So CO2 is kind of pushed through there, and thousands of tiny bubbles go in and carbonate the beer within the day. And then we keg and can right from the bottom. So yeah, we hook up, we can. That's our canning machine right over there.
Okay.
And then kegs as well too. And these smaller ones are just our test batches. So they're just on a smaller scale. So if we don't want to commit to a big batch on something, we want to experiment, which we love doing.
Do it in there.
It goes in there.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
One last thing that I just want to get to here is that there's a patio here, right?
All the way.
Let's shoot outside because it's such a beautiful day. Now, this is a terrific patio space out here. We were talking a little bit about culture. Now, from the time that we walked in through the door, I've seen nothing but happy, smiling faces, which is, a tribute to, once again, the family, the time to build things, the passion into the product, and all of that. So, I think that this is a great place to have people come down and enjoy some of the culture.
Absolutely, yeah. And we're family friendly. We pride ourselves on that, that we want you to come down here with your family and stick around. Dog friendly patio. It's not your traditional bar kind of thing. Right. Tap room culture is its own thing as well too.
Right. That's right.
Tap rooms all across the city have their own culture and people who frequent them. And we have a lot of regulars and a lot of people that come here and come for every new beer that we release, all that kind of stuff. So we really try to foster a good, inviting environment where literally everybody is welcome.
Right. And I think that's what we want to support from coast to coast standpoint. We want to support culture. So when we're selecting our points, we want to come on and be passionate about the people that we take part with. So thank you for supporting the Soca Reggae Fest.
Oh, can't wait.
And if you want to try some of that product, well, you know where to find it. So
yeah, awesome.
We'll catch up with you again.
Yes, yeah, for sure.
On the next one. See you then.
Hello, my name is Tyler Ranger here with Coast to Coast Central, taking a dive in today, looking at one of our people we know very well here. We're sitting down with Vin Robinson, host of Coast to Coast Central. We're here to ask him a few questions just about, taking a dive into what he values, finding out what's important for him, kind of what makes him tick here. So Vin, in our society, it's really important, obviously, to be inclusive, make sure everyone feels valued. Obviously, in Canada, we live in a melting pot, lots of diverse cultures in our society. So it's very important to be respectful. Everyone knows that. But why is it so important to you that you kind of went out of your way to start this business and go on this enterprise to make sure that that is represented?
Well, Ty, thank you very much for having me on the show. It's been a long time, and I'd like to just say it's for opportunity. When opportunity knocks, it gives opportunity for things to change, and change is very important in our society. I'm a longtime Winnipegger, and there's been a lot of things that have changed over 30 years, and some for the good and some not so good. But I think what we need to do is take some of the great experiences that we have in the past and focus on them so that we know where we have to go. So that's why these programs, this business has gotten started, is to create opportunity and inclusiveness for people in our community.
So given that there is, more influx of people with diverse backgrounds and more opportunities to work with them, obviously we're still trying to make that opportunities increase. What is your approach to understanding the perspectives of colleagues with diverse backgrounds?
Well, I learned a long time ago that the table's always round. So it's not about having a square table or a rectangle table when people sit down. Everybody has an opinion. And God gave us 2 ears to listen and 1 mouth to speak. And, sometimes the tongue says things that we're really not supposed to, so we're supposed to listen. And to understand the diverse cultures that we have, I'll give an example. Running a basketball program, you have to take into account that different religion. And if you have some religions that might not eat pork, for example. You have to be aware of that. So being aware will position yourself so that you're offering a nourishment or a product for people that everybody can enjoy and be inclusive of. So I think it's just being aware of the fact that we're in Canada. It's a great place to be. I don't really know too many other countries in the world that you could go to and get It's a Small World all in one.
Yeah, for sure.
Right? And I think that that's what makes Canada so unique. So that's what helps me kind of focus, is I like to extend a little bit further back and say, okay, it began with Pangea, we all split off, it's a long time ago, but we split off into these different countries, and we need to try to understand each other to know where we have to go moving forward.
And know that really, going back all that way, like we really are just like one species, one society. We might like look different and have different aspects of our culture, but really that's like kind of what makes us special, that somebody from a different part of the world who might have like a different ancestry, they might value things differently than we might value things here, and just understanding that and knowing like how to be respectful towards people for the different things they might value, and just understanding it's a positive thing really that we have differences in ourselves, in different parts of the world, right? It's really what makes people great. So yeah, really just understanding that's very important.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We need to take that time and understand, because if we don't, there's never going to be progress.
Yeah, exactly, right? Like we've kind of gotten to where we are as a species, everyone's kind of separate, especially when you consider like hundreds of years ago where you have like countries going to war with each other and like trying, instead of the whole, world just working together to build ourselves up, really,
Mm-hmm.
And so how would you advocate for diversity in a colleague who maybe doesn't quite understand its importance, or maybe just isn't educated on the matter?
Through my experience, I've realized that operations manuals are extremely important. Anti-harassment policies are extremely important. You have to set these guidelines in place. Without structure, it's organized chaos, and you're just asking for problems. So you need structure.
Yeah,
That's for sure.
Yeah, because I think lots of times it is just kind of a lack of understanding. You can't know something unless you've been taught it, so for a lot, like I know myself, I had parents who were really good at teaching me kind of, to be accepting of others and kind of not, mind your own business, let other people kind of do what they want to do. You're allowed to believe it. But some people didn't really have that guidance growing up. So lots of times it can be just not really like an ignorance, but just a lack of knowledge. How would you know something if you're not taught it, right? So even though it can be something, when you're just talking about being inclusive of others, it is something that, can kind of seem obvious to us at times, but, really for some people it might not be quite as obvious.
That's right.
Yeah.
We've been going off on this as co-host of this show. I don't want to take away from what you're doing. I think we should go to a commercial break and then come back and get on our next topic. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think so. I think I got a little carried away there with the car. I got a little excited there. So we'll take a quick break here. We'll come back and then we'll keep that excitement going.
All right, we'll be right back.
Okay.